Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. Well, Star Trek Picard Season 3, Episode 5, entitled Imposters, another fantastic episode. This season just keeps going from strength to strength and strength. It's really firing on all cylinders, and it's taking us in a really captivating direction that's really got me on the edge of my seat. In this episode, we get more into the mystery, I suppose, and the changeling infiltration of Starfleet. We get a bit more back and forth going on between the Titan crew and what Raffi and Worf are up to on Metalis Prime. And most of all, we get the beloved return of a legacy character from Next Generation in the form of none other than Michelle Forbes, reprising her role as Ro Laren, no longer Ensign Ro, now Commander Ro, as a fairly high-up member of Starfleet intelligence. So great to see Ro Laren back in this episode. It was I had a feeling we might be getting another surprise legacy character joining us for this episode. I thought it's probably about time they dropped another character, and not a disappointment at all. So good. The whole dynamic, but with Herb and Picard and everything, and they touched on all of the history between these two characters and filled in the gaps of 30 years and addressed situations from the end of Next Generation, pretty much ticking all the boxes I think we would ever want in a Ro Laren and Jean-Luc Picard reunion episode. So that was just awesome. So let's break down this week's episode, go into all those little hidden details and everything we might have missed in the episode. We've got a few of them to talk to, so make sure you stay tuned to the end to catch all of them. And we're going to obviously review, talk about Ensign Rose rejoining the show and the cast again, all that sort of stuff, and where the show is perhaps headed in its next episode. So that's all going to be good stuff. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to Sci-Finatics yet, don't be shy. Click on that big subscribe button to stay up to date and current with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. So our episode starts off with a Jack Crusher daydream sort of moment, but we don't know it's a daydream moment just yet, where he enters the bridge of the Titan in a Starfleet uniform and basically phases all of the bridge crew and takes them out at the point he wakes up from his dream. He's got red eyes. He's hearing whispers in his mind from Beverly's voice, and Beverly's voice is whispering to him, "Come home." Where is home? Where is home for Jack Crusher? This iteration of Jack Crusher, he's obviously got all these weird, things going on in his mind with, roots growing on the starship and red doors and clouds and all this sort of thing we've talked about in past episodes. But we're sort of yet to kind of find out what is actually going on with him. Next we get Riker handing his command back to Shaw. Shaw resumes the command of the Titan. And it looks like that Jean-Luc and Riker and Seven are going to face a bit of a disciplinary situation, but Picard saying he's going to take the heat for it. Meanwhile, Beverly's going to do an autopsy on the changeling that took the form of Sidney LaForge in the last episode, and do a bit of a post-mortem, see if she can work out what the hell's going on with these changelings that don't resume their gelatinous state after they die. They're keeping their last solid form, which could be a distinct problem when it comes to detecting these guys by using the usual detection methods. Next we go back to La Serena, where Worf and Raffi are having a bit of a sparring session, which is a really cool, to see that going on again. Worf obviously had lots of sparring sessions with Dax and other crew members on the Enterprise and everything, quite on a really regular basis back in TNG. So it was good to see him going through the motions there with Raffi and training her up a bit more with a bit of hand-to-hand combat there. I went into a lot of detail. This was the sneak peek scene that aired last week. And if you haven't seen that scene breakdown video, I'll put a link at the end of this video, and you can check that out, where I'll go into a bit more detail in terms of the dynamics of that fight sequence. But it's really interesting to note that at the end of this scene, obviously we know that even though Worf was Raffi's handler in Starfleet Intelligence, there are even higher members of Starfleet Intelligence that are Worf's handlers, or even higher up than that are kind of telling them to don't go digging around in Daystrom Station. They don't want them looking around there, which kind of makes them even more keen to look around there, because clearly there are some serious answers to what's going down. Worf chopped off Sneed's head in a previous episode, so they're going to have to go to one of Sneed's other contacts in the form of Kryn, who is of another dodgy underworld figure. He's a Vulcan. We also see a few other names displayed on the screen here when he's scrolling through other members of of the underworld, obviously. Apart from Sneed and Toluco that we saw in the previous episode, we also see Laurel here, who was a thief from an episode of DS9, Who Mourns for Morn, and also Morn of Luria, Brunt of Ferenginar, and we've got Thaddeus Kona, all characters we've seen pop up before when they've been scrolling through various different underworld, resources and so forth. So obviously that's come back again. This time we're going to meet Kryn, who's a Vulcan crime boss. Strange that a Vulcan is a crime boss. They don't tend to do criminal activities very often. Normally they're Romulans kind of do this sort of stuff. And I thought Kryn was Romulan initially, but it turns out he's Vulcan. And Kryn is played by none other than Kirk Acevedo, who obviously was in 12 Monkeys. I think Terry Matalas is giving all his buddies from 12 Monkeys jobs on Picard. Obviously we've got Todd Stashwick, and we had the guy who played Sneed the Ferengi, and also now Kirk Acevedo. They were all in 12 Monkeys, and it seems like we're sort of just throwing a bone to all the actors who were in that show. So that's kind of cool that we get to see the 12 Monkeys cast members pop up as various different guest parts in this season of Picard. Next, we get the arrival of the USS Intrepid. Things are a little bit sus with the Intrepid. They don't want to beam over. They want to send security teams in a shuttle. We get some cool little banter in the turbo lift there with Shaw once again reminding Jean-Luc and Riker about all their exploits back in the day where, maybe they didn't save the galaxy on every occasion. Sometimes they just kind of caused havoc, and he'd like to remind them of that. Using a few examples from, Star Trek Generations and Star Trek Insurrection and so forth. And obviously as well, it's the situation from the All Good Things Next Generation finale as well. There's lots of examples used there from past Next Generation episodes that we're all very fond of, all movies as well. And before long, we obviously get the arrival of none other than Ro Laren, the Bajoran who obviously served on board the Enterprise in the last couple of seasons of Next Generation, and it was so great to see Michelle Forbes reprise her role as Ensign Ro, or in this case Commander Ro. There's a lot of history with Ro and Picard. There was a little bit of a mentoring situation going on there for a little while, a bit of a father-daughter thing perhaps going on. It was, so good to see that dynamic come back again in this episode. We have Seven trying to keep Jack Crusher safe by disguising him as a Starfleet officer. He reluctantly dons a Starfleet uniform, which is sort of a bit of a foreshadowing of the scene we saw at the beginning of the episode with him wearing the Starfleet uniform and phasering all of the bridge crew. So we're a bit worried that this could play out. We get to a really cool autopsy scene where Beverly is doing the post-mortem on the Changeling. We've got Sydney LaForge spewing in the background because she can't handle seeing her own corpse on the table there. And it's really good to see Beverly kind of doing the sickbay diagnosis routine. We obviously had that quite a bit in Next Generation, and it was really, I guess, quite nostalgic to see her with a medical tricorder, scanning things and coming up with hypothesis and everything. It's Dr. Crusher doing what she does best. This is when we find out that changelings have evolved a little bit to the point where you can't just do the usual blood test or whatever anymore to detect who is a changeling. It would appear now that they're able to pretty much hold their form as whatever form they decide to take. So they don't, when you do the blood test and everything, it doesn't automatically revert to changeling goo. It stays as human or whatever biology, which is a significant problem when it comes to changeling detection. I love the scene in the conference room with Jean-Luc and Ro just kind of going at one another. It's like Ro's trying to interrogate Jean-Luc, but Jean-Luc's bringing up all this betrayal history about her leaving to go join the Marquis. There wasn't one stone left unturned in this relationship between Ro and Picard in this episode. They brought back all of the little story beats in their relationship, what we saw them go through in those last couple of seasons of Next Generation, and just that hurt and everything that, obviously Picard would have felt when she did leave them to go and join the Marquis and everything. I think they touched on all these points, which was so awesome. And I'm really glad that they addressed all of this situation, and they didn't just have her coming in and taking the place of somebody who could be any Starfleet security officer. It was really a heartfelt tour de force of acting between Michelle Forbes and Patrick Stewart, reprising the relationship between Jean-Luc and Ro. And I've got to say, my hat really goes off to Terry Matalas because he knows these are the story beats we want to see. We want to see these moments between our legacy characters. And when we do see them, our hearts just swell with such emotion And that emotion is what is really at the core of what makes Star Trek great for all of us. We got Jack flipping out again. He's having some more of these whispers going on in his head, hearing Beverly's voice saying, "Find me, hear me, and connect us." So what is going on? The fact that it's Beverly's voice talking in Jack's head, saying these things, "Find me." Why is it Beverly's voice when obviously Beverly's there on the ship? Unless, of course, Beverly's a changeling. We've got all these red vines again appearing on the wall of the transporter room. We've got, Jack having these sort of hallucination moments where he kills the transporter chief. He's got his eyes glowing red again, and it's definitely a mystery we're all very eager to learn more about. Next, we've got Worf and Raffi on Metalis, hunting down the rogue gangster Kryn. I noticed we had a little cool poster in the background on Metalis, which showed that creature that was Worf's sparring partner back on the Enterprise in one of the very early season 1 episodes. He looked like he sort of had a bit of a yellow sort of skull-like face, but yet he's in a poster on Metalis here. So I wonder whether this is some sort of promotion for this holodeck program that Worf used to run back on the Enterprise. So that was interesting. And we got obviously a little bit of subterfuge going on here to fool the crime gang or whatever. Raffi's got the whole mobile emitter thing on her sleeve, the same as what Elnor wore last season, and obviously the Doctor wore in all of Voyager. Back on the Titan, we have Ro pulling a phaser on Jean-Luc and escorting him into the holodeck. And obviously your immediate reaction is, oh my God, she's a changeling. After a tense sort of standoff with the safety protocol switched off in the holodeck, we come to realize that there's enough history and emotion and everything with what Jean-Luc is saying and what Ro is saying. They're both hurt. Both of them have got broken hearts about what happened to the way they both ended their relationship as sort of a bit of a father-daughter, mentor-protege sort of situation back on the Enterprise. And they figure out there's so much history there that can't be faked by a changeling. So they pretty much work out they can trust each other. To which point we find out that Ro is obviously a pretty high-ranking member of Starfleet intelligence, and things are not good. It appears the changelings have infiltrated Starfleet at the highest level, and nobody can be trusted. I'm not sure whether anybody else thought this as well, but Michelle Forbes' makeup was very subtle. It didn't look like her Bajoran ridges were prosthetic makeup at all almost. They almost seemed so subtle. They were like they were drawn on in pencil. Certainly a lot more subtle than they were back in Next Generation. Back on Metalis, we've got Worf and Raffi having to do a bit of a fight to the death scenario to entertain Kryn, the Vulcan crime lord. Raffi gives Worf a bit of a stab to the guts, and you think, oh dear, this is not looking good, but obviously we've seen shots of Worf in the trailer, in a conference room scenario on the Titan, so we know pretty much this is going to be a little bit of a subterfuge situation. And he, even though, poses death by using a meditation technique to slow his heartbeat down to a point where he appears to be dead, he comes back and takes out all of our Romulan and Vulcan crime members there to put the pressure on Kryn to work out how they get into a Daystrom station to find out what's going on there. Ro and Jean-Luc discuss the dire situation that is the changeling infiltration of the Federation, where apparently there have been 12 or more situations on board various starships amidst the fleet where strange orders have been given, and it appears that there have been multiple ships compromised by changelings. So this isn't faring too good at all. And just before Ro leaves the Titan to go back to the Intrepid, she passes Jean-Luc her Bajoran earring, which I got to say I really love this symbolism. During one of their very first encounters on the Enterprise, obviously Ro's earring was a contentious issue back on the Enterprise, which I kind of always thought was a little bit odd back in that Next Generation episode, because Worf is allowed to wear his Klingon sash on the bridge, but Ro got told off for wearing her Bajoran earring. So I kind of always found that a little bit odd that what one set of rules for one crew member didn't necessarily mean the same set of rules for another. So, but anyway, the symbolism of the earring, the way the story between Picard and Ro began with this earring being, a hot topic, and their relationship essentially is ending, you know, with this earring being a focal point as well. So I love the way that was done. And obviously, you know, later we find out the earring was quite significant in terms of it being a data chip with all of her changeling research and everything on it, and what's been going on in the Federation with the infiltration and everything. So I love that little book ending, the way that the story began with Picard and Ro with the earring, and it ended with the earring. So a great storytelling. Ro heads back to the Intrepid, but unfortunately her shuttle is compromised by changelings. They set a bomb on board the shuttle, beam out, and there's no time to defuse it. The bomb also has a transport inhibitor as part of it, so she can't beam out. There's no time to get her back to the Titan, so she sacrifices herself to save the Titan crew and to buy them some time to get out of there. What a good way out for this character. This was just an amazing final farewell to Ro Laren in this episode, and the fact that she got to sacrifice herself to save all of the other crew and everything, I think was a really noble ending to the character. And we even get the classic face palm from Picard showing his grief. Jack gets spotted by the changelings, but he's able to use some pretty fast self-defense techniques to take out all of the changelings pretty quickly. I'm not sure what's going on. It was some sort of weird sort of sleeper agent kind of skills that he's got going on here, almost wakens up from. I'm guessing maybe Jack has some ability to detect changelings, and maybe this is the reason why they want him. One of the reasons he's obviously so important to the changelings is maybe he's the key to uncovering them, or there's something within his DNA somehow that is a big changeling detector or something to that effect. The Intrepid attacks, but the Titan is able to flee. And at the end, again, we find out that Ro's earring was a data chip, uncovering all of her research on the changelings within the Federation. And we also find out that Ro was Worf's handler. So Worf was Raffi's handler and Ro was Worf's handler. And this has now given us a really good way to link Worf and Raffi and bring them back to the Titan crew. So I'm guessing in our next episode, the Titan and the La Sirena will be reuniting, and Worf and Raffi will be joining the crew there in their mission to uncover what's going on with the changelings infiltrating the Federation. I did zoom in on this image showing all of Ro's data and research, but the only piece of information that I could see that we hadn't seen previously was this shot here talking about the decommissioning of the Enterprise F. And at the end of the episode, we get Jack essentially admitting to Bev that he is not okay at all. She knows something's going on with him. It seems like he's going to fess up to how he's been feeling. I'm guessing in the next episode he's going to be saying, hey mum, you know, I've been seeing tree roots growing around the ship. I'm seeing flashes of red doors and clouds and post-apocalyptic cities and all this sort of thing going on. Please scan my brain and work out what's going on here, because it seems like he doesn't quite know either. So yeah, interesting to see where that's going to lead us in the next episode. Guys, I really love this episode. This season is just going from strength to strength. The storytelling is really great. It's hitting not only great story beats in terms of keeping us really entertained and engaged in terms of this mystery that's going on with the changeling infiltration of Starfleet, but also, you know, in the form of bringing back these legacy characters and really having heartfelt scenes between Ro and Jean-Luc and everything, and really tying up all those loose ends that weren't quite fully tied up back from Next Generation. So, look, I'm just loving this season so much, and I just, you know, I every week I just can't wait to see what happens next. It's so good. But guys, let me know what your thoughts were. Please leave a comment and a like for this video. Let me know what your thoughts were on the episode, and maybe if you've got some theories. What are your theories about Jack Crusher's situation? What's going on with him? Let me know your thoughts. And as always, guys, please leave a super thanks if you're able to. It really helps the channel out. And also check out my merch in the merch store. Pick up yourself a cap or a mug or a hoodie or something, or a t-shirt. Heaps of cool designs in there, and they're always at a really reasonable price. And I'll be back really soon with my next video. I'll catch you guys soon.